In the pursuit of sort of developing and creating new forms of sculpture, it's essential to have highly skilled practitioners involved and respond to the process or the concept. Everything stems from the central core and the idea of what's internal to the cube, this life form which evolves and mutates based on online input.
The process for creating the model, I think it first starts in a 3D modeling program, in which you're presented with a virtual world or space in which you can just model anything that you like in a very similar manner to modeling clay in real life. But of course it's on the screen, you're using a mouse to shift around the model, shape it, pull out parts here and there, mold it to how you like. Then the texture of the model, you can create an image in another application, just any image-based two-dimensional editing program, and that's what you use to create the actual texturing of the object. You bring that into the 3D modeling program, wrap that around your object, and that basically, there's your final model that you can then use for any other application. And in this case, we've then taken that model, taken it into a programming software, I guess, and that takes the model that you've built and then you're able to do whatever you like with it. And in this case, we've actually we set up a cube, so we've got 4 sides. I'm actually for starters, rendering out 4 different views of that model. So when it's actually projected into the cube, each one of those rendered views of the model actually rendered out to a single screen. And when it runs, we've actually got 5 computers running the whole lot. One computer actually controls the other 4 computers, tells each computer what the object's doing at that time, how it's moving, and keeps all those computers in sync, so it actually presents one object to the viewer. It actually gives the illusion that it is just one object moving around, but it's actually 4 different rendered images of the one object, all synced up. The programming side of it, the entire object is pretty much driven by mathematical equations, I guess, for every aspect of it. All the movement, how it interacts with the glass, all the individual tentacles, their speed of movement, how they wrap around the corners, how they press against the glass, how the images, which will be downloaded from the internet, people that upload their personal images, the software running our program downloads those images and then decides how to position them into the object space and how they're viewed.
What this does, this programming and the ability to make these mathematical equations dictate the movement and the actions of this sculpture, it allows it to have this has a digital form to be very responsive to a real, an architectural real space. So every aspect of it and the way it responds to the space is dictated through the programming that Steve's working with to actually generate its motions, its activities, its evolution, its ability to consume. All those elements are created through equations.
So I guess I was invited in to try and find a way of, I guess, bringing it to life in an auditory way. I think, if you look at cinema and theatre and a whole bunch of different traditions, that idea of, and certainly even obviously with contemporary art, the use of sound in some ways brings a different sensibility to the work. It broadens it out in some senses and gives it a particular kind of depth that sometimes for instance, a single screen projection work mightn't have. And I think when we're dealing with something like this, which is a 3-dimensional experience, people are coming to a space and seeing this creature, encased within this cube, the way that it breathes and interacts and exists, if you like, within that space, it allows people to kind of engage with it more deeply in some respects. So I guess for me, what I was trying to do was find something about this creature that made it organic but still alien, because when you look at it, it has this sort of unfamiliar form. There are elements that potentially remind you of certain kinds of creatures you've seen before, but the way that it moves, the way that it interacts, the fact that it's being fed by this sort of data stream suggests that it's, you know, it is alien, it's unfamiliar, it's uncharted. So I guess I tried to find these sounds and create these sounds that would in some way reflect on that. So we used a whole bunch of different things from, I used an old accordion bladder to make some of the breathing, and then actually pitch shifted that to give it a sense of depth, because when when a human being breathes or when a rhinoceros breathes, there's a certain kind of density to the lung capacity, and when you look at this guy in the cube, it's quite a big lung capacity, so you want to kind of have that heaving strength of this creature actually breathing very strongly in there, and also the idea of a heartbeat, something sort of a life force within it. And I guess I tried to find a heartbeat that played to the largeness of this big thing. It would need some kind of quite significant engine to drive it, you know, while it's doing all this work and sort of transforming these data streams into these projections on its suckers. So a lot of the process was about thinking of ways to lend a sense of depth and presence to this very kind of handsome beast that was already living in the cube.
It's actually the contribution of many different elements which add to the success of the work. And that's even as far as the space itself, the existing space. And it's the way that all these things relate to each other which will ultimately define the success of the work.